I was booked to play in the opening night of Amnesia a few days after that big biology party. And I hadn't slept for like 3 nights by this point, and I was getting the train. I couldn't afford to go with like anybody to help me, so I had all my equipment, all my luggage and everything to turn up and find Alfredo. Basically, I had an arrangement to meet him in Amnesia car park in the afternoon of the day of the opening party. But
Wow.
in those days, talking about no one having cell phones, in Ibiza, no one even had a landline.
Yeah.
It was like, if you didn't turn up at
It was
this
a
bar
nightmare.
at this time, and
Yeah. I know
it was
exactly what you mean. The amount of
so,
times I've had to meet people in Ibiza at a certain place at a certain time
yeah,
before the phones, it was a nightmare.
yeah. But somehow it kind of happened. It was still, the universe would like guide us. But
Yeah.
I basically, I'd get on the train at Victoria to go to Gatwick, and then I'd wake up in Brighton and I'd be like, oh no, I'm in Brighton. And then I'd get back on the train and wake back up in fucking Victoria. And I just kept missing Gatwick. And in the end, I missed my plane. I went to Gatwick. And you couldn't buy a ticket at the airport either. I had to call my manager and say, can you buy me a ticket? And calling from a pay phone in Gatwick. And then I kept for about 12 hours, I was just sleeping around on the plastic chairs in Gatwick Airport. And then I would get woken up by airport security going like, what are you doing here? We keep seeing you around, this weird little
And your brightly coloured clothes as well.
kid. Yeah. And I probably had, my little skinny sparrow drug legs with my shorts on and stuff, just looked like a little weirdo and then in the end, actually, I went back to London because I had to wait another 24 hours, but still, nevertheless, I somehow made it turned up in and met Alfredo in Amnesia car park and did my sound check, and there was Ricardo de Force, who was a friendly, familiar face from London, which was great. And then we became really good friends. He was, God rest his soul, the godfather of my daughter Bluebell, Natalie, and my daughter. And he went on to work with the KLF, who we were also hanging out with in Ibiza that summer, who I also knew from before Acid House, when they were the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo, and they were making these mad mashups with ABBA and the Sex Pistols and Scottish rapping over the like mental music. Excellent. Really challenging culture and art,
your head's like missing from the screen. Yeah, there you go.
I forgot I had a head.
He was like a giant,
Yeah. So Ricky went on to he was on 3 a.m. Eternal, the classic KLF track, and also their big #1 hit with Tammy Wynette. I just loved that the KLF, people would just do mental things, take big chances. Like, who would make a rave record with like Tammy Wynette, a country and western singer singing about, the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo and the Illuminati and stuff, and a rapper from London like talking about fishing in the rivers of life, and it got to #1, and they dressed up as ice cream cones and like threw a dead sheep into the lobby of the Brits Awards, and
classic.
All these kinds of things. Now people just
they wanted to originally throw the £1 million just in Liverpool Street or something, didn't they? But they wouldn't allow them to throw the £1 million, so that's why they burnt it, wasn't it? It's
they burnt £1 million, and then they got sued by the Bank of England another 150 grand for defacing the Queen's notes. But they also, before they did that, I was reminded, reading the Adventures in Wonderland, Cheryl Garrett's account of acid house culture and rave culture. that they were paid. They insisted on one of the raves in being paid in Scottish pound notes or Scottish £10 notes. Their fee was £1,000 or something, because Bill Drummond from the KLF is Scottish and proud. He wears a kilt and stuff, and they insisted on being paid in Scottish notes at a rave in like Essex or something, and then they just went up onto the
stage or whatever.
The stage, just threw the money out into the audience.
Excellent.
Like, threw their whole fee out into the audience. It was so mental, that whole period